make a bechamel sauce, you need 3 ingredients. You need butter, and you need flour, and you need an amount of milk. Depending on the consistency of the sauce you want, depends on the amount of milk, but the flour and the butter should be equal quantities. So what you start with is we're going to melt the flour and the butter together. So I'm going to put these in a pan, and I'm going to use a whisk, because if you use a whisk, it's much less likely to get lumps. What we'll do is we'll put the heat on to medium, and then we'll add these two. So we'll put your butter in first, so then we'll add your flour. And what you could see is the butter is slowly beginning to melt and dissipate. And once that has melted, what you actually want to do is make sure that you get your whisk and just stir it all in so it becomes like a paste. So there we've got a nice paste forming. Now you just want to cook off that flour a bit. Plain flour is a flour that needs to cook down. So the French would have you, in a traditional format, cook your bechamel sauce for about 20 minutes. But because you have to think about whether or not you're going to put that bechamel sauce into a dish that's actually going to go into the oven again, and those minutes that it's in the oven count as part of that 20 minutes. But the idea is that the flour itself, to cook off and make sure it's no longer that floury taste and to become smooth and velvety, needs that time. So you need to cook the flour for a couple of minutes now, and you don't want it to brown. You want to make sure that it is completely and utterly blonde. So once it's bubbling away like that quite happily over a medium heat, you want to get your milk. So I'm going to just slowly pour this, but you do need to whisk as you go. So just do it gently, and then hopefully you won't get any spinning pots. So you can just do it nice and gently, and you pour really slowly. Now, I've poured in about a quarter. Just bring that to an even consistency. Stir in that milk, that chemical reaction's happening, it's all stiffening up with the flour. And you've got a few lumps in there, but just keep stirring, because they will even out if you carry on. I'm going to pour in a little more of the milk. And again, I'm just going to stir very slowly. And what we're going to do is agitate it a little bit. Make sure it comes out of here. Just keep stirring. And it will all be okay. And see why a whisk is useful, because it's got all those metal wires which are going to help you break up that thick paste and help it dissolve into the milk. So I'm going a little faster now, because I can, because the lumps have got smaller. But you've got to keep going. See, if you add more milk at this stage, it'll be really hard to get rid of the lumps. You need to get it to an even consistency. Don't give up. Keep stirring. It's lovely and even again, and it's thinner, so it's going to be much easier to add the thin milk to this. So now it's absolutely smooth. You want to add the next quarter of your milk. And again, start slowly with your stirring, and then give it a little agitation. And when you stir, make sure you get into the corners as well as all over the bottom. So I'm really consistent about where I put my whisk, and I'm making sure I go into those corners where the side of it meets the bottom. And if you get your whisk right into that, then you won't have any bits that stick and none of it will burn. Carry on stirring. Never ever stop stirring a bechamel or a white sauce. Now I'm just going to pour in the last of that milk. But this bechamel sauce is going to be quite a thin one, because the ratio of butter to flour to milk is small. Whereas if you had more butter and flour, obviously it would be thicker. You never know the true thickness of your sauce until you've actually brought it up to boiling. So you can see now it's bubbling, and that will give me the true indication of the thickness. Keep stirring, just stir for a minute or two. Adjust the heat as necessary, and this can be seasoned as needed, so maybe some salt and black pepper, but depends what you're using it for. So there you have it, a lovely bechamel sauce. So to make your lasagna, you need to have a bolognese that you've made, and a bechamel sauce that you've made, and some cheese and some pasta. Today I'm lucky enough to have fresh pasta, so I'll show you how to prepare that. I've made a bechamel sauce. It needs a little bit of seasoning to it. It needs a bit of salt, a bit of pepper, and a little bit of salt. Let me give it a bit of a stir. And a bit of a taste.